So, you think you know how cyber attacks work? Well, you might want to think again. The old playbook, the one that's been used for the last decade, it's pretty much obsolete. Attackers have totally shifted their focus, and it's aimed right at the one tool you use every single day. Let's break down how this massive change happened.
Okay, so this is the core of it right here. The old way was, complicated. You had to breach a device, sneak around inside a network, hunt for data on servers, a whole lot of work. The new way? It's so much simpler. Attackers don't need to break into the fortress anymore, they just want you to hand over the keys. And those keys? They're your login credentials, which they can use right in the same web browser you do.
So, what caused this huge shift? I mean, why would attackers just abandon their old methods that worked for so long? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental change in how we all work today.
Just think about it for a second. Your CRM, your HR software, your files. Pretty much everything important has moved from servers in the basement to cloud services like Salesforce or Google Workspace or Office 365. This whole SaaS-ification of everything means that the old idea of a secure network perimeter, a castle with a moat around it, has basically vanished. All the good stuff is now on the public internet.
And this leads to something the industry calls the shared responsibility model. Now, the big cloud providers like Google or Microsoft, they do their part. They secure their servers, their buildings, their infrastructure. But here's the catch. It's not their job to secure who gets to log in. That responsibility, it's entirely on you and your company. And just like that, user identity becomes the new perimeter and the #1 target.
So this massive shift inevitably creates a new front line in the cyber war. And you guessed it, that new battleground is your web browser.
What really gets me about this quote is that second part, a security blind spot. The browser is where we live our digital lives. It's where our passwords are. It's where our active login sessions are just sitting there. It's where the prize is. But for so many organizations, it's the one place they have the least amount of visibility.
So what are attackers actually shopping for inside your browser? Well, it's two main things. First, of course, your credentials, your username and password. But the second item, that's the real treasure, stolen session tokens. Think of a session token like a key card to your hotel room. Once the front desk verifies your ID and gives you that card, you don't have to prove who you are every time you want to get in your room. If an attacker steals that key card, they can just walk right in. No password, no multi-factor authentication, nothing.
And believe me, there's a whole dark marketplace built to supply these things. Attackers can buy credentials from old data breaches, they can launch massive phishing campaigns to trick you into giving them up, or, for a more direct hit, they can use info stealer malware that just scrapes passwords right out of your browser's memory. They can even hide their spyware inside a browser extension that looks totally harmless. Let's look at a real-world case that just perfectly shows this danger. In the huge Snowflake breach campaign, attackers were using credentials that were stolen by malware way back in 2020. I mean, for years, those passwords were just sitting in some database, like a ticking time bomb, until, bam, in 2024, they were used to log in and steal data from hundreds of companies. It's a scary look at the long-term risk of a credential stolen from a browser. So let's connect the dots here. Even when an attacker manages to get old-school malware on a computer, their main goal has changed. They aren't digging around for files on the hard drive anymore. Nope. They're using that access to pivot directly into the browser to snatch those valuable credentials and session tokens. All roads now lead to your identity, and your identity lives in the browser. And the scale of this problem, it's just staggering. For a typical company with only about 1,000 employees, there can be over 15,000 different user accounts floating around. How does it even get that bad? How does this invisible risk get so big?
Well, it's a mix of things. You've got ghost logins from people who left the company years ago that were never turned off. You've got some apps with strong security, but others with almost none. Every single app has its own settings, creating this chaotic, totally unmanageable mess for security teams.
Okay, so with all this focus on identity, what's the attacker's #1 weapon to get it? It's a classic, but it's evolved into a seriously high-tech weapon. Phishing, and this quote just nails it. It really doesn't matter if the attack starts in an email, a text, a social media message, whatever. The end game is always the same. Get you to click a link and do something in your web browser. That's the kill zone.
Look, modern phishing is not just some sketchy-looking login page anymore. It is a sophisticated trap. First, they use things like CAPTCHA, the prove you're a human puzzles, to block automated security tools from ever even seeing the malicious site. Second, the website's code is constantly changing like a chameleon to avoid detection. And this last part is just brilliant in a terrifying way. They can actually trick a website into offering a weaker login option, so you're only asked for a password instead of your password and your security key. It's a way to bypass the very protections meant to stop them.
And we can't forget about malicious browser extensions. The risk is pretty straightforward. A user either installs a bad extension from the start, or a good one they trust gets hijacked by attackers. But the analogy here is just perfect. Giving your users the freedom to install any extension they want, it's like making every single employee a full-on administrator on their own computer. You're just asking for trouble.
Okay, so we've painted a pretty grim picture. The browser is the battleground. It's where all the bad stuff happens. But what if we could flip that on its head? What if the battleground itself could actually become our greatest shield? And this leads to a really powerful idea. If all these modern attacks have to play out inside the browser, well, then the browser is the absolute perfect place to put your security. It's the ultimate observation post to see everything that's happening and to step in when you need to. The browser has these unique superpowers that other security tools just don't have. It sees every single login, not just for the official company apps, so nothing can slip through the cracks. It knows exactly how you logged in. Did you use a strong security key or just a weak password? And it sees all the context, like if you suddenly start copying and pasting sensitive info. No other tool can see that level of detail. This visibility lets you build a two-part strategy. The first part is all about being proactive, about playing offense. It means using this incredible new vantage point to hunt down all those security holes like ghost logins or apps without proper protection and fixing them before an attacker ever gets a chance to find them. But playing offense isn't enough, right? You have to assume an attack will eventually happen. So that's the second part of the strategy, reactive defense. By monitoring what's happening live inside the browser, you can spot a phishing attack or a session hijack the second it happens and shut it down right then and there. And that really brings us to the bottom line here. In today's world, with countless apps and logins, achieving perfect 100% security, it's just not realistic. It's an impossible task. And that means having the ability to detect and respond to attacks in real time isn't just a nice to have anymore. It is absolutely essential. So we'll leave you with this one question to think about. Your browser is your window to the world. It's probably your most essential tool for work and for life. But after hearing all this, you have to ask yourself, is it also your single greatest vulnerability?